All right, so today we're going to talk about a story that's happening inside millions of us every single day. It's a story about why our joints can sometimes start to feel less like smooth, well-oiled machines and, well, more like rusty old hinges. And we're going to meet 3 tiny little helpers that scientists are looking at for their potential to keep things running just a little bit smoother. Yeah, you know that feeling, right? That little bit of stiffness, that ache, that creak you hear when you get up too fast. But what is actually going on in there? Well, before we can understand how to help, we first have to get a handle on the problem they're trying to fix. So let's take a look.
So what is behind that rusty hinge feeling? You know, it often boils down to one single really powerful process in our bodies that just kind of gets carried away with itself.
And that process is inflammation. The best way to think about it is like your body's own internal alarm system. Now, when it's working right, it's fantastic. It lets you know there's an injury and calls in the repair crew. But sometimes that alarm gets stuck in the on position. It's just blaring these nonstop emergency signals, even when there's no real danger. And that's what can turn our joints into a total chaos zone.
So here's how that chain reaction actually happens. First, for whatever reason, the immune system overreacts. Then it just starts spamming the body with these frantic little alarm signals called cytokines. You can think of them like tiny biological text messages just going panic, panic, panic over and over. And when your joints get flooded with all those signals, they become that chaos zone, which over time leads to real discomfort and damage.
So how do we calm all this chaos down? Well, let's meet our first tiny helper. It's a compound called Apigenin, we'll just call it API for short, and you can find it in things like chamomile and parsley. Think of API as the expert communicator, the one who knows how to get on the intercom and tell everybody to just take a deep breath and calm down.
API has a very particular set of skills. See, it's being studied for its ability to do more than just muffle the alarms. It actually tries to get to the root of the problem, the main control panels for that alarm system. It also helps protect the actual structure of the joint, you know, the bone and the cartilage, from all that chaos. So, how does it do it?
This is where API's communication skills are just so cool. It doesn't just block a few random alarm signals. Nope, it goes right to the source, to what you could call the main circuit breaker panels for inflammation. They have these super technical names like NFKB and JAK-STAT, but all you need to know is that research suggests API can help flip some of those big switches into the off position, quieting that whole system down at the source.
And it's not just about noise control. API also acts kind of like a project manager on a construction site. Our body has this demolition crew, these cells called osteoclasts that break down old bone. Now in a chaotic joint, this crew can go into total overdrive. What API is studied for is its ability to step in and say, all right, team, that's enough for today. Let's take a break. And that helps protect the very structure of the bone. Okay, next up on our team is DHM. It's a compound found in the Japanese Raisin Tree. And if API is our communicator, then think of DHM as the guardian, or maybe the bodyguard. Its #1 job is to physically protect the joint's most valuable structures. DHM skills are all about playing defense. It helps protect the cartilage, that's the smooth, cushiony scaffolding in our joints, from these nasty little enzymes that try to tear it all down. It also acts as an antioxidant, which is basically like a specialized cleanup crew that comes in and tidies up all the damaging molecular waste that gets left behind by all that inflammatory chaos. And our final peacekeeper is EGCG. This one you might have heard of. It's famously found in green tea. Now, EGCG is the ultimate team player. It's the all-around support crew that just jumps in wherever it's needed most, making everyone else's job that much easier.
You know, EGCG really does a little bit of everything. It helps quiet down those alarm signals, a lot like API. It helps protect the cartilage from those breakdown enzymes, kind of like DHM. And it also helps keep that bone demolition crew in check. It's really that versatile helper that backs up the whole team's efforts.
Okay, so we've met the individual players, right? We have the communicator, the guardian, and the support crew. But the real magic happens when they team up. So how do all their powers combine?
This is where you can really see how their skills complement each other. So under comms alarms, you see all 3 of them playing a part. But API is the real specialist there, hitting those main control panels. Then when you look at protects cartilage, DHM and EGCG are the heavy lifters. And for guards bones, API and EGCG work together to manage that demolition crew. See, together they form this really comprehensive support system.
Now, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But
And this is a really big but. It is time for a very, very important reality check. We need to be crystal clear about what this cool scientific story means for us in the real world. This is the big question, isn't it? After hearing about these incredible tiny helpers and everything they can do, you're probably wondering, is this it? Is this the ultimate solution?
And it is so important that we are blunt about this. The answer is no. It is absolutely essential to understand that everything we've talked about today is based on ongoing scientific research. None of these compounds, not API, not DHM, not EGC, are FDA-approved treatments for arthritis or any other medical condition.
And that brings us to the single most important takeaway, a direct quote from our source material. Always consult a healthcare professional. They are the only ones who can help you understand the potential benefits, the risks, and what dosages, if any, are appropriate for your specific health situation. Please, self-treating is never the answer.
So, while these compounds are not some kind of magic bullet, their story does leave us with a really fascinating question. It just highlights how scientists are digging into these deep connections between the things we eat and drink and the way our bodies actually work. And it makes you wonder, right? Could the key to happier, healthier joints be hidden not just in a pharmacy, but maybe in our kitchens too? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.